Hey everybody, James Nutter here from I Am Wealth. Did you know that 3 of every 4 American families say money is their number one household stress? That means 3 of every 4 of your friends say money is their number one household stress. I too have felt it. I imagine you have felt it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here right now. So that's why we created the I Am Masterclass, a safe space for you to learn with your friends and families how to take control of your money without making critical mistakes. And so thank you so much for being here. And please visit us at iamwealth.com. We offer free financial wellness diagnostics, have a bunch of great resources on there for you. And without further ado, let's jump into the masterclass. So let's go ahead and jump in. So thank you so much for investing your precious time with me today. I know there's countless other ways that you could be spending your time right now, and your attention and time is absolutely the most valuable thing that you have, especially as a physician, given that you have limited time. So honored that you chose to be here with me right now. I'm James Nutter. I'll be your host and guide throughout the conversation today. I'm a partner and financial planner at I Am Wealth, and my goal today is to make valuable use of your time and help you take control of your money so you can live a more meaningful life, right? So before we dive in, let me ask all of you a few questions. Who here has ever felt overwhelmed, uncertain, or even insecure about their finances? I'll put my hand up high, and I do this for a living. Talk about imposter syndrome, right? Who has stayed up at night wondering how you're going to manage your debt or pay it off? I'll keep my hand up. I'm currently buying into our private practice, I Am Wealth, so I know the feeling. I'm planning a wedding, good times, right? And who here has ever been frustrated that after investing hundreds of thousands of dollars into your education, no one ever taught you the basics of money management or even student loan 101? Like, you have all these loans. I think I heard a stat that was like, an interesting stat that I think it was like, 97% of your time in medicine is focused on actual medicine, and then maybe like 3% for like nutrition and things like that. So I think it's pretty rare. Like, we go into Michigan State's College of Human Medicine and we talk once a year for an hour in their finance elective, right? So very, very lack of financial education out there. I saw someone raise their hand. I didn't see who, but thank you for doing that. But just know that if any of that resonates with you, you're not alone. Like I said, I have felt it too, and I'm a financial advisor for a living, right? Money is very difficult. And these are the challenges that we're here to address with you today. Money touches every aspect of our lives, yet it's often taboo to talk about, even with close friends, even with family, even sometimes with our spouse or partner, right? We each have different perspectives of money based on how we grew up and who conditioned us, our parents, society. Were we middle class, lower class, upper class, whatever it might be? I mean, I had one of my physician clients say yesterday, he's talking about how security is really important to him now that he's an attending, because in residency, he was one broken down car away from life being an absolute shambles, right? So I'm sure you all can relate to that. I can relate to that too in my journey as an entrepreneur. So that's why we created this space, the I Am Masterclass. It's a safe space to learn, plan, and take control of your money, and a safe space to just feel comfortable having finance conversations, because it's really, really difficult to do so. And like I said, even with a spouse or partner, I struggle with it too. And most of our viewpoints, once again, surrounding our money stemmed from our childhood and those who raised us. So ask yourself, why am I the way I am as it relates to money? What were my parents' views? What were the people around me growing up? What were their views on money? Where did I grow up? Why am I the way I am? And then think about your spouse or partner if you have one, and then think about their upbringing, right? So now you might have a little bit more clarity as to why you guys might disagree about some things. And once again, I go through this too. I'm planning a wedding right now, and I would be 100% lying to you if I said that my fiance, Steph, and I haven't had some money arguments throughout our time together, right? It's difficult for everybody, myself included, and I do this for a living. So CNBC reports 3 of 4 American families say money is their number one household stress. That's more than politics, work, and family. Politics scored 59%, work scored 49%, and family scored 46%. So the family that you can't stand seeing at Christmas, right? Money scores higher than that. And younger generations are even more stressed out about finances than older generations, with the majority of Gen Zers, 82%, and millennials, 81%, saying finances are at least somewhat stressful. Add to this, 42% of physicians report burnout and depression per the Medscape reports year after year. And typically money and lifestyle and hours are a factor into this, right? And if you have more money, you can work less, or you can trade your money to buy back your time, right? So I truly believe that money and lifestyle have a direct impact to physician burnout. Of course, there's other things that you guys deal with too, all the bureaucracy and BS. And CNBC also reported that 54% of people that believe a partner with debt is a reason for divorce. Ouch. Hopefully your partner knew like what they were getting into, right, with med school and everything like that, right? That's just for the average American. So I always like to kind of flip your perspective on your student loans and talk how, your student loans represent probably one of the most significant investments that you've ever made in yourself, and one of the best investments you could ever make in your entire life. And don't take it from me. Let's take it from Warren Buffett, well worth over 100 billion as of today, I can imagine. I didn't Google it, but he's typically right around there. And Warren says, investing in yourself is the most important investment you'll ever make. There's no economic investment that will ever match it, because if you gain more skill and ability, it's those insights that will truly create economic freedom. And that's coming from like probably the greatest investor of all time, saying, before you invest in the stock market, invest in yourself. And that's what you did with med school and training. You took time to invest in a skill set that now is giving you an ROI on your investment into med school, right? So there's very few investments out there where you could stick 300,000 into it and then get almost 100% return. If you make 2, 3, 4, 5, 600,000, if you make 600, it's a 2x return on your investment year over year over year. If there was investments where you could do that, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. We'd all be rich and happy and on the beach somewhere, right? So just keep that in mind too. It's kind of a perspective change on your loans, because I know that they can be extremely overwhelming. And once again, it's an investment into you and your skill set. And there's not many investments that will give you that great of an ROI. A little bit more about us at I Am Wealth. We currently help about 82 physician families take control of their money so they can live more meaningful and purposeful lives. And for everyone else like you, we just give away immense value, including sessions like this, 100% free, right? And why we do this, we have two goals for this masterclass: to provide real world financial wellness that helps you now, because in our society, there's almost zero. Or if you Google, what do I do with my money as a physician? It likely will overwhelm you, throw a bunch of rules of thumb at you, like live like a resident, and have you feeling how I feel when I Google my symptoms before talking to my doctor, in a state of paralysis. Or I had an ulcer in my eye about 2 years ago, and like I said, my eyeball, I had cancer of the eye and I was going to die, right? So anyways, I found that a lot of physicians, it's very, very similar when you Google your financial symptoms, right? So you pay all this money to become a physician, and yet you've never been taught how to repay them. Meanwhile, not to finger point whatsoever, but medical schools and the government are earning hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars on your loans, interest, tuition, everything, right? But we're not here to finger point. You have to take control of your own life. No one is coming to save you. The government's not going to save you. Donald Trump's not going to save you, whether you like him or not getting into politics today. The next motivational Instagram quote or reel is not going to save you. You have to take control of your money on your own. And you being here is making you different than most. This was offered to probably 7 or 8 healthcare systems. And for whatever reason, 23 people registered. Now we have what, 5 of you here, maybe 6, maybe 7 now. Thank you for being here. So anyways, you are different than most. This was offered to probably thousands of physicians, and only a few actually took the time to invest in themselves, right? So that's the first reason. And then the second reason, of course, is to earn your trust, right? So if you are, if we earn your trust for free and you're ready to take the next step, you'll think of us and we'll be happy to take you to the next level. Some basic ground rules for today is there's no cost for this. There's no sales pitches and there's no fluff, and we commit to no BS. Because of that, super quick disclaimer: I Am Wealth does not offer individual financial advice outside of a formal consulting agreement. This masterclass is purely educational, easy for me to say, disclaimers are fun, and aims to provide immense value. For personalized guidance, visit us at iamwealth.com. And there's a fun free added bonus, because all of you are here with me right now. For everyone that registers for our masterclasses, we offer what we call a free financial wellness diagnostic. It essentially gives you confidence and clarity in your current state of financial health. And that is 100% free. I'm going to throw in for the first, we've already had some people book these this week that registered for this. I'm going to throw in a free 30-minute student loan coaching call as well for that. So what I'm going to do real quick here, I have a QR code if anyone wants to scan it and take a look at my calendar. I'll just keep this up for like 5 seconds, take a quick sip of water, do as you please, or we can do a quick phone call and I can follow up with you so you can learn a little bit more about the diagnostic. All right, cool. Hopefully you got that. If not, all good, no worries. Cool. So let's actually jump in. Thanks for bearing with me through that intro, but I always feel like it's kind of important to talk about the foundation and why we're here, right? So the main overview of today is section 1. We're going to talk about key updates from studentaid.gov. So the recent updates as of, I think, January 17th was the most recent. Section 2, we're just going to talk about what is PSLF and how does it work for physicians. We have a PSLF checklist that you'll get free access to after this. I'll send it to you when we're done today, if not tomorrow. And then the third section is going to be avoiding common PSLF mistakes. And then we'll have conclusion and key takeaways and Q&A. So I will try to go through a good majority of that PSLF checklist, but I feel like it's more important to talk today about the key updates from studentaid.gov about the SAVE plan and everything, right? So the main focus in naming the problem, right? There's current ongoing litigation surrounding the SAVE plan. And this new income-driven repayment option was introduced to help borrowers lower their monthly payments and manage their student loan debt more effectively. However, recent legal challenges threaten its stability and could have significant implications for your PSLF journey, right? So when this came out, I think it was the fall of 2023, I believe it was. I was encouraging clients to enroll in it, but I was like, this seems way too good to be true, right? And now we're in this like interesting forbearance place, kind of a gray area right now, right? So today we want to provide you the comprehensive understanding of how the SAVE plan works, the potential risks posed by the current litigations, and then the steps you need to take to stay on track for loan forgiveness despite all these uncertainties. Whether you're currently enrolled in the SAVE plan or considering your options, it's essential to be informed and prepared. And one other thing I want to disclose is none of this today is a formal recommendation, right? I can't give a formal recommendation outside of a formal fiduciary consulting agreement. Just want to say that one more time, right? So please consult with your team of advisors, or please contact I Am Wealth to learn more about our client experiences to see what we do. So let's jump in. Section 1, just key updates about the SAVE plan from studentaid.gov. So I know the number one thing right now, of course, 9 days ago was Inauguration Day, and there's a lot of people feeling very overwhelmed and uncertain. I know in Trump's last administration, he significantly opposed PSLF. And then now, over the last 4 years, with some things Joe Biden was doing, I know Trump was probably tweeting or, whatever the heck he does, probably bashing Biden about some of the certain moves that he made. He did try to, I believe in the past, I did a little research prior to this, like potentially get rid of PSLF, but it didn't go through the first time around. So I know there's a lot of uncertainty about the new administration opposing PSLF. Now, there's going to be a lot of things involved that will have to take place for that to go away, right? But first and foremost, and I'll talk more about what this looks like, always have a contingency plan, right? Do not depend on the government for anything in your life. Like I said earlier, you have to take control of your money. So let me just read word for word what studentaid.gov says. If you go to studentaid.gov, there's a little banner on the top of their website. You can click here. And a lot of the credit, majority of the credit for today does come from studentaid.gov. So I'll read it word for word. It says a federal court has prevented the U.S. Department of Education from implementing parts of the Saving on a Valuable Education SAVE plan and other income-driven IDR plans. ED is currently prohibited from using the SAVE formula to calculate monthly payments and from forgiving loans after years of payments under the SAVE plan, pay-as-you-earn plan, PAYE, and income contingent repayment plan, the ICR plan, right? And a quick note is eligible borrowers may now enroll in the pay and ICR plans, and it says continue to check this page for updates. So let's just go through a simple guide to the loan changes and then think about some questions that you want to ask yourself along the way. So after the Biden administration introduced the SAVE plan as a replacement for the repay plan, several lawsuits were filed challenging the legality of the new plan. And these lawsuits, spearheaded by some advocacy groups in certain states, argue that the Department of Education exceeded its authority in implementing this plan without proper legislative approval. So why this litigation matters for physicians pursuing PSLF. So as a physician working towards public service loan forgiveness, you rely on qualifying monthly payments through income-driven repayment plans like SAVE to stay on track for forgiveness. And if the courts were to rule against the SAVE plan, it could lead to changes or even a rollback of the program, potentially affecting the structure of your payments and how those payments count toward PSLF. Like right now, if you're enrolled in the SAVE plan and you're in forbearance, studentaid.gov is saying that those payments are not going to qualify or count towards PSLF. So let's talk a little bit further about some potential scenarios that could play out here. So scenario one, let's say the SAVE plan is upheld. If the SAVE plan is upheld in court, there will be no major disruptions. Your payments under the SAVE plan will continue to qualify for PSLF, even though now they are not. And you can proceed with the confidence that your progress towards forgiveness is on track. Scenario number two is that the SAVE plan is modified. So if the courts decide that certain aspects of the SAVE plan need to be modified, you might see changes to your monthly payments or interest accrual rates. For instance, the provision that eliminates interest accumulation within the SAVE plan could be altered, which could increase the total amount you owe over time. However, as long as your payments remain income driven and you're still working for a qualifying employer, they should still count toward PSLF. Scenario three, SAVE plan is overturned. In the event that the SAVE plan is struck down, there's a chance you may be transitioned back to the previous repay plan or another income-driven repayment plan like pay or IBR. This could lead to changes in your payment amounts and possibly in how quickly interest rates accrue. So keep in mind that the SAVE plan kept payment amounts like ridiculously low for most. And if you look at comparisons like the IBR plan, they're definitely higher. So I would definitely prepare yourself to potentially carve out more space in your budget to pay more. And again, as long as you remain on a qualifying repayment plan, your payments will still count toward PSLF, but it's crucial to stay informed and adjust your strategy if needed. So a couple like recent updates of what's happening with the SAVE plan. So right now, your loan servicer can't figure out how much you owe because of the court decision, to keep it super simple. So you don't have to make payments, AKA forbearance, and there's currently no interest growing on your loans. So for some of you, this might be super nice, right? You're in a completely interest-free loans. Your loans aren't accruing. If you continue to make payments, you'll actually chip away at the principal. If you're in training, this might be really, really nice for you too, because then you can not make payments and have a little extra cash flow to go out to dinner with some friends or have a cocktail or whatever it might be, right? However, keep in mind that during this time, and I believe since last September or October, these payments are not counting towards PSLF, right? So keep this in mind. So what's next? So you'll start getting bills. You should have started getting bills no earlier than December of 2025. And deadlines to renew your income information for the SAVE plan will begin in February 2026. So coming a year out. So I've even had some clients who aren't required to make a payment till like next fall or next year, which is kind of crazy. So your options, you can make payments now if you want, and they'll go towards future bills. So essentially they'll kind of chip away at your principal and some of the interest that you've already accrued in a zero interest environment. Not a bad move. You could take that money and put it in a high yield savings account and earn 3 to 5% interest, what you would pay every month. And then once interest is going to turn back on your loans, you could just throw a lump sum at it. That might be an efficient way to make a little bit of interest on the money that you would be putting towards your loans. Once again, none of this is a formal recommendation. I encourage you to meet with your advisory team to make a decision. If you want to leave this forbearance, you can talk with your loan servicer about switching plans. So I just want to show you a quick tool really quick on studentaid.gov. And if you're listening to me right now, and this is podcast format for my people who are teleported into the future right now, listening to this at a later date, not here with me live. I'm sharing my screen and I'm going to studentaid.gov. So when you get to studentaid.gov, you're going to hover over loan repayment. And there's two things that you can look at in here. There's income-driven repayment plans on the left-hand side under prepare and apply. So let's click that. And then when you're in here, you're going to scroll down and you're going to click, you're likely a returning IDR borrower unless you've never enrolled in an income-driven repayment plan, which you want to click apply for an income-driven repayment plan. But if you're already enrolled in one, if you're in the SAVE plan, you can go down and click manage your income-driven repayment plans, click the login to start button and go through the process from start to finish. And then this at the end of it will lay out different options of what your payments are going to be based on switching to a different plan, because they now are accepting applications for the IBR plan, for example. You also can go under loan repayment, and in the middle, there's this tools and calculators, and you can click the loan simulator, kind of a similar process. But what you can do here is you can actually plug in different scenarios in here of like, if I'm married filing single or separately versus married filing jointly, and like, how will that, if you and your spouse both have income, how will that affect things? So this is a really cool tool to use. And it just, I wouldn't take it 100% accurate, but it should be pretty close to spot on. This is a tool that shows you projections of what you can expect in your monthly payments in different plans. The other tool, the income-driven repayment plans, when you apply for a different plan, like it's actually going to put it in an application to switch you to a different plan. So please keep that in mind. And then when you're in the student loan simulator, you can go to the left-hand side and click, I want to find the best student loan repayment strategy, and click login and start. One side note or kind of pro tip I've noticed, I kind of feel like studentaid.gov is like the mothership overseeing the Nelnets and the Mohilas and all the other things. So I typically will start at studentaid.gov before trying to do anything on the other platforms. So you can do as you please. That's just kind of one thing that I found to work really well with some members of our community. So a few quick self-assessment questions for you is, do I want to start making payments now or wait until billing starts again? And should I check if a different repayment plan works better for me as it fits into my personal financial plan, right? So another update is there's different types of forbearance. There's save forbearance and there's processing forbearance. So you're in the save forbearance if you're using the same plan. So what to know, once again, no interest will grow and this time won't count. There's processing forbearance. You're in this if your loan servicer needs extra time to handle your paperwork for things like calculating payments or updating your income. What to know, interest will grow during this time, but up to 60 days can count towards forgiveness. So some self-assessment questions now is, am I in save forbearance or processing forbearance? That's something to find out, because I've had a lot of conversations with people and they're like, I don't know if I'm in the save plan, but I'm in forbearance, right? So that's something to keep forefront of your mind. And then should I check my servicer's updates to know my status? So go to studentaid.gov, check that out. Another update, the third step in the studentaid.gov updates is applying for save or other plans. So I already just spoke on how to apply for the different plans. Once again, you can apply for income-driven IDR plans online. You can do it with a paper form, but I would encourage you to do it online. And what plans are open right now is the IBR, the ICR, and the pay plan, and applications are now being processed normally. Once again, there could be some processing delays. If your application takes more than 60 days, you might move into save forbearance where no interest goes, but time won't count towards forgiveness, right? So kind of confusing. There's a lot of gray area. I do this for a living, and it's kind of like it's almost like a waiting game just to see what happens for people, right? So some self-assessment questions there is, do I know which repayment plan is best for me? Have I submitted my application online or with a paper form to figure out what I need to do next? Step 4 is, can I still get loan forgiveness? So once again, pause forgiveness. Forgiveness under plans like save and pay is on hold. Still active. Forgiveness through the IBR income-based repayment plan is still available. If you switch to IBR, past payments on save or pay might count toward your IBR forgiveness. I wish I could give you a certainty for that. I took this directly from studentaid.gov and they use the word might. So some self-assessment questions for you. Am I close to reaching my forgiveness milestone? Should I consider switching to the IBR plan if I do qualify? So if you want your payments to count right now, it would likely be in your best interest to go look at the IBR plan, see what your monthly payment is, see if that fits into your cash flow, and then potentially switch to that. The 5th step of the updates from studentaid.gov is getting PSLF credit during forbearance. So there is a buyback credit option where you can buy back months that didn't count toward PSLF if you meet these conditions. You have an outstanding loan balance. You work in a qualifying job during those months. This will bring you to 120 qualifying payments. So you can only do this if you're at close to the end of PSLF. I currently don't have a direct answer if this works or not. I actually have a client I'm meeting with today who submitted an application for this on studentaid.gov. But once again, it's kind of like a gray area waiting game to see how they process his application. He should be at 120 payments this April or May. So which is why we're pursuing this, and him and I are going to talk about it this afternoon. But I do not have any direct experience with this buyback credit. But if you're close to 120 payments or you're at 120 payments, I would definitely encourage you to submit an application there. Or the second option is, once again, switch to a PSLF eligible plan. Once again, the IBR plan, but payments will go higher, right? So some self-assessment questions for you. Do I qualify to buy back PSLF months? And should I submit a request? Would switching to another PSLF eligible plan help me reach my forgiveness goal faster? So let's talk now, before we segue into the PSLF checklist, just like next steps, what do we do now, right? So visit studentaid.gov to check your options and see if you can auto renew your income information for the SAVE plan, or look at the loan simulator and apply for a different plan. Stay up to date on changes from studentaid.gov. Like, I've been logging in at least weekly. I would encourage you to do the same. Or if you have a financial planning team, they should be proactively reaching out to give you updates on this. And if they aren't, you might want to make a change because they might not specialize in physicians and know what this means for you. So think about whether buying back credit or switching plans works for you. Once again, use the loan simulator tool. And so another thing of how to stay on track despite all this uncertainty, right? So stay informed about the legal developments. It's essential to stay updated on any legal decisions related to the SAVE plan. If the courts make a ruling, it could affect the details of your repayment plan or lead to changes in how payments are processed. So once again, I know some, like, humans that you work with, right? They have a symptom and they sweep it under the rug and they ignore it, and then it metastasizes, and we all know what happens next. So don't let this happen with your student loans, right? Stay up to date. Don't sweep them under the rug. Make a proactive plan. Subscribe to updates from your loan servicer or reliable financial news resources. I now have your email. I will be giving you updates as we go. Continue to certify your employment and income annually. So regardless of the litigation outcome, until the new administration, if they decide to get rid of PSLF, continue to follow the basic fundamentals of everything you need to do for PSLF. Let's not make assumptions, right? So regardless of the outcome, one thing remains consistent: the importance of certifying your income and your employment every year is very, very important for PSLF. Once again, maintain flexibility in your financial planning, right? Since litigation adds a layer of uncertainty, it's wise to build some flexibility into your financial plan. For example, like I said earlier, you could move money into a high yield savings that's earmarked towards loans. I'll talk more about a contingency plan and how to build one a little bit later. And another example, if monthly payments increase due to changes in the repayment plan or interest accrual rules, make sure you have room in your cash flow and budget to accommodate for those potential shifts. You can work with a financial planner or us to ensure you're prepared for that. There's no doubt we're helping our clients with all these decisions. And you could also work with a loan advisor or another, financial professional. There are great physician student loan advisors out there where all they do is help you with your student loans. We're working on, having one be part of our in-network providers. We just haven't quite struck up a relationship yet that we feel good about, but that's a potential other option for you. I'm going to pause, take a sip of water. I know that was a lot, probably like drinking out of a fire hose. I would encourage you to go back through this and visit studentaid.gov. Most of that was taken directly from that little thing at the top of studentaid.gov's website, where you hit click here to learn more about the latest updates. So I know there's a lot of uncertainty, right? So let's talk about the PSLF hacks checklist and give you an overview of what that looks like. Because like I said, I am still going to encourage clients to pursue PSLF with a contingency plan as long as it's there. If it goes away, it goes away. At the end of the day, it's a wonderful program. You deserve to have it, given that you work for a nonprofit. However, at the same time, we can't be dependent on the government for things in our personal lives, right? We need to take control of our own situation. Like I said earlier, no one is coming to save you. You need to take control of your life, every single area of your life, right? So let's talk a little bit real quick about what is PSLF and how does it work for physicians, just to give a quick refresher of PSLF. So Public Service Loan Forgiveness is a federal program designed to forgive the remaining balance on direct loans for borrowers who work full-time for a qualifying public servicer service employer like a nonprofit hospital or government organization. To qualify, you need to make 120 qualifying payments under a qualifying repayment plan while working full-time for an eligible employer during that time. After the 120th payment, any remaining loan balance is forgiven, tax-free. We'll talk more about what this looks like in a second. And why PSLF is important for physicians. So for physicians, PSLF can be a game changer, right? With the high cost of medical school, many physicians graduate, as you know, with significant student loan debt. So PSLF offers the opportunity to have this debt forgiven. We've seen many people have their loans forgiven over the last 3-4 years. So it definitely presents a great opportunity. We've had clients who have had their loans forgiven. They were saving to wipe their loans in contingency, right? And then once their loans are forgiven, they're able to just reallocate that money towards all their future goals, right? So imagine having like a pot of money or an investment account with 200,000-300,000 in it, and then find out your loans are forgiven. And instead of having to throw that at your loans, you can take it and invest it for your future. That's a massive, massive ROI. But once again, don't depend on that. You got to have the contingency plan as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you a quick overview of PSLF. I'm going to share my screen and we'll take a look at the checklist. For those with me on podcast style, you'll get the general gist of everything as well. So step one for PSLF success, and keep in mind too, this checklist was built from a client of ours who had their loans forgiven. So my business partner, Jeff, and I spent hours on studentaid.gov kind of figuring this out a couple of years ago. And then we sat down with our client and interviewed them and talked about, okay, what was everything you did from start to finish to make this work? And then this is how this checklist came to life. So step one is understanding the requirements for PSLF. Step two is confirming PSLF is for you. Hint, there are some hospital systems out there that aren't nonprofits. Step three is getting organized and staying consistent. I think that's likely the most important step. Step four is building a contingency plan, like I talked about earlier. Probably now actually the most important step, given that there's so much in the air right now. And then step five is you've achieved 120 payments. What the heck happens next, right? So let's talk a little bit about this checklist. And I'll kind of go back and forth between sharing my screen as we go. I won't keep it shared the entire time, but I'll share it so you can just take a quick look. So understanding the requirements, you will have access to this. If you already have access, pull it up, have it in front of you as we go. So that's step one, understand the requirements. And, this is direct pro tip from our client who had their loans forgiven. They talked about start early. Most people have no reported income the year before starting residency. So the first year of payments are basically $0, whether you're in the same plan or whatever plan you're in, because you really had no reported income, but still count towards your 120 total payments. Your second year, you only report 6 months of income. So your payments are also going to be low, right? So if you already passed this, if you're an attending or whatever it might be, don't worry, you can still catch up. You can still get things done. But if you're listening to this and you're early in your career, you're still in med school, start early. And then what are the absolute must-do tasks in any given year while pursuing PSLF? You must make your income-driven repayment plans monthly, and you must make sure you're in a qualifying repayment plan. And then annually, you must update and certify your income. You must also update and certify your employment. You can do all of this on studentaid.gov. You can Google PSLF help tool, and that will take you directly to the form that you fill out to go through all of this. So step 1.1 in this is just learning the eligible loans, eligible requirements, right? So all eligible loans are direct subsidized loans, direct unsubsidized loans, direct plus loans, direct consolidation loans. Ineligible loans are the Federal Family Education Loan, or FFEL, the Federal Perkins Loan, or student loans from private lenders. Now you can consolidate the FFEL and Perkins loans, but they basically start over from zero. So just keep that in mind. So if you're at 80 payments and you're eligible loans and you consolidate those, don't consolidate them with your other loans. Otherwise it restarts the whole thing. So make sure you don't do that. But if you do consolidate those loans, they do start from zero. So then you kind of need to make a decision. And then also too, like I said, make sure your employer qualifies for PSLF. There are healthcare systems out there that don't qualify for PSLF because not all healthcare systems are nonprofits, right? So what you can do, you'll probably get your W-2 or tax documents in the mail sometime. Maybe you already have them sometime in the next like 2 weeks, maybe the next month. There's going to be what's called an EIN number on there. It's basically like a social security for your employer. You're going to take that number, and then you're going to go to studentaid.gov and you're going to search their employer search tool. And in there, you can plug in your EIN and it'll tell you whether or not your employer qualifies. So it sounds silly, right? But as a step one, you want to make sure you're not trying to pursue PSLF and have your employer not qualify. Now, you can go work for a for-profit organization for a year. We actually had a client do this for a fellowship, and then go back to a nonprofit and get back on track. It's just that year won't count, right? So make sure all your payments qualify so far. So I would always encourage you to know that it takes 120 payments, so about 10 years. If you're in the SAVE plan right now, it's going to take longer than that, right? Make sure you've signed up for automatic debit payments, right? So have these go on autopilot. I know right now, if you're in forbearance, you can't do that, which is frustrating. So you want to set a reminder on your phone, or ask Siri to bother you, or set an alarm or whatever it might be to make sure you're making a payment monthly. And then I understand that payments during forbearance and deferments can count, like we talked about earlier, but right now for the SAVE plan, they are not going to count. Most of you are probably pretty aware with like the COVID-19 pause, all those payments did count during that time. So step two is just confirm if PSLF is for you, right? You want to make sure that you're 100% confident that PSLF is for me. If going to work for a nonprofit healthcare system and dealing with all the bureaucracy and no control over your schedule and everything that you need to do is going to cause you to burn out, you have to ask yourself, is it worth it to pursue PSLF, or is it more worth it to go to a private practice or do locums where you have more autonomy over your schedule and lifestyle? And only you can make that decision, right? So step 2.1 within step 2 is just, I've chosen a qualifying income-driven repayment plan. Sounds simple, but make sure you're in a qualifying income-driven repayment plan. And then a pro tip directly from our clients is qualifying repayment plans include all the income-driven repayment plans. So we talked about these earlier. This is going to be a little bit out of date in the checklist, but make sure if you're like, hey, I want my payments to start now, qualifying now, and I'm in the SAVE plan, your best bet likely will be the IBR plan. But once again, look at your options and keep up with what studentaid.gov is processing, right? So that's the income-based repayment plan. So they base it on your income. If you're an attending making $600,000, you're definitely going to have a higher payment than like a physician in training, right? So keep that in mind. And once again, use that loan simulator tool to figure things out as you go. Another pro tip is, once again, key considerations in knowing whether or not PSLF is for me. So just understand, how is your debt structured? What are your current balances? The state of the current interest rates in the current economy. So right now, interest rates in our economy are like extremely high. Back in 2020, we had a lot of clients that were refinancing, right? So there might come a point in time where interest rates drop back down to like 3 or 4%. And if that becomes the case, then it might make more sense financially to refinance than to pursue PSLF. So you kind of have to just weigh that out as you go. And then are your loans subsidized or unsubsidized? And then ask yourself, I already talked about this earlier, like, what is your vision for your future practice? Do you plan to remain a public employee for 120 payments? And if you're going to burn out as a public employee and you can't stand it, it's probably not worth it just to have your loans forgiven. Just take control and pay them off on your own, right? Think about what family and other income considerations apply to your situation. So once again, financial planning and tax planning come into play when you recertify your income every year. Do we file joint? Do we file separately? And the the loan simulator tool can help you with all of that. So you really there's no financially correct way to do this. I mean, sure, there's a mathematically correct way to do this, but with our member clients, we don't always do the mathematically correct way, because that says, live like a resident. And, even if you're making 500,000, live off of 60 and apply all the rest of your loans, sacrifice your lifestyle and burn out in the process, have no fun, don't go out to dinner, all that, right? White coat investor, the live like a resident stuff. So we help our clients make decisions that's in alignment with their financial vital signs, their family's values, right? So don't follow the cookie cutter mold, the norm of everybody else. Why follow someone who has different values than you? So you need to make these decisions based on you and your values and your vital signs, meaning how much money's coming in, going out, like all your different financial vitals, and then also your vision and goals, right? If your only goal is to pay off your loans in 2 years and you have no other goals, then that should be pretty simple. But if you're trying to send your kids to college, move to reduced capacity at age 50, and buy your, dream lake house, in addition to paying off your student loans in the next 8 years, that situation looks a little bit different, right? So another pro tip directly from one of our clients is we filed taxes separately throughout residency to keep my reported income low, so the payments didn't increase too much. This only makes sense, obviously, if both spouses have income to report. Additionally, consider filing separately the last year of medical school so you can report no income your first year of payments. Once again, that's not a formal recommendation. That's just what worked for them. So step 3 is getting organized and doing it right consistently. So how to build a system and get organized for PSLF. And the first thing that you're going to do now with all the most recent changes, you're going to check student.gov probably on a weekly basis to see where you're at, the updates. If you submit a new application, what does it look like, right? So do you have a system? And if no, there's a couple things that you need to do. You need to identify what's called your IDR, income driven repayment plan, anniversary date. You can do this in student.gov. If you don't know where to find it, Google it. And then you need to build a reminder system to remind you to begin your recertification every year, 3 months in advance to your IDR anniversary date. I'll talk more about why this matters in a second. Within this ping schedule, you need to recertify your income every year. Within this ping schedule, you need to recertify your employment every year. And then I've given myself 30 days to gather all the income information. So you really need to submit all of this 60 days in advance, but you want to give yourself 30 days to prepare for everything. So that's where that 90, 60, 30 comes from. And then I've submitted my recertifications at least 2 months in advance, like I just said. So here's why this matters. A pro tip directly from an IM Wealth member client. If you wait until the last minute to recertify your income, once again, this is based on that IDR anniversary date, you may be at risk of missing a qualifying payment as you go into deferment while they process your new payment schedule for the upcoming year. So for example, if you're late 10 years in a row and miss 1 month per year because you submitted, let's say 30 days outside of your IDR anniversary date instead of 60, and they took a while to process because they got a billion pieces of paper to process, you would have almost another year, 10 months of payments. So be organized, be on time, be early. Another pro tip from an IM Wealth member client is how often would you organize and submit forms? They said income verification forms must be submitted annually. Certification of employment can be done at any time. The more frequently it, being the certification of employment, is submitted, the easier it is to track your progress. Ideally, I would recommend doing it annually as well. Some employers allow you to actually do it directly through Workday, being your employee benefits. At the very least, be sure to complete it before leaving an organization and starting a new job. That's very, very, very important. So another pro tip from us of how to build a system for this, we call it the box and shelf method. So for example, me preparing for this webinar for you, what most people do is they stress about it 24/7, 365. This whole past weekend, I would have been hanging, skiing with my friends as I did, and I would have been thinking about this presentation because I didn't block out time to prepare for it. And that's what most people do, like living their lives. So we call it like the box and shelf method, right? So schedule time on your calendar 90 days in advance of your PSLF or your IDR anniversary date. Every single year, put it on your calendar and schedule what we call like a 90-minute jam session. You single task, hyper focus on that one thing. And if you think you can multitask, NASA did a study and your IQ is actually lower than when you're stoned if you're multitasking. You can Google that and look it up. So single task on PSLF. It might not even take you 90 minutes, right? So put it on your calendar, have a digital box on a shelf titled PSLF, and create a batch system to monitor and complete tasks to advance the ball down the field. So versus trying to do it sporadically, randomly throughout life, just know that you have that meeting on your calendar and then you can get it done. So here's what I'll show you as an example of what we build for our clients to get all of this done for them. And if you're with me on the podcast, essentially what we're doing, I'm looking at a box.com vault. You can do this in Google Drive, and there's a variety of different folders in here. This is like a digital financial vault, right? So we have budget and cash flow, we have business entities, we have debt statements, employer benefits, tax documents. You can store everything in here. So we have a folder in here that's called PSLF. So I'd encourage you, all of you, use Google Drive, whatever you want to use. If you want to use an actual physical file, by all means do it. So click on PSLF. And then the PSLF checklist, what I've been going through is in here, reserved exclusively for clients. You'll get it, but you'll just have to build your own dash or your own, file system basically. But this is the box on the shelf. So you come in here and we have different folders, right? We have the PSLF master dashboard, which you'll also receive. For anyone listening to this right now, there will be a link in the bio down below for how you can get all these free resources. We have a webpage. It's info.iamwealth.com/PSLF. PSLF form copies. You want to store your documents. You want to have documentation. You want to have documentation of your income recerts, your employment recerts, your W-2 records, your loan statements. And every time you call your lender, ask them for their name, date it, put a timestamp on it, and track it. You want to be proactive with all of this, right? So put the box on the shelf, right? This hypothetical box, take it off the shelf 90 days in advance of the IDR anniversary date and just go mano a mano getting everything done. The easiest place to start is to go to the PSLF help tool, and you can just Google that, and it's on studentaid.gov, and you can just fill out that form every single year to help you recertify your income and also your employment. We also built this PSLF master dashboard right here. And this is where you can essentially, you guys will all get free access to this. Like I said, if you're listening to this on the podcast or YouTube in the future, the link will be in the bio down below. Or once again, it's info.iamwealth.com/PSLF. But this will essentially, it's an Excel spreadsheet where you can track everything. You can put your IDR anniversary date in here. You can put the dates that you've certified your income. It'll track your payments. So this will keep you on track so you know where you're at along the way. So this is the simplest way that we have found to keep track of every single thing PSLF wise. Erica, I see you put a heart up. Hopefully, I imagine that's for this dashboard, which is amazing. So thank you for sharing that. Appreciate it. If that was on accident, maybe just because you're loving the day and life so much. So this is a great way to just keep track of everything. So create that batch system, put it on your calendar annually, and just do it like you really only need to do it once, maybe twice a year. Or you could have like a quarterly 45-minute check-in with yourself or PSLF and just put it on your calendar when you know you're going to have time off. And I always use with clients, I use the acronym called BAMFAM. Book a meeting from a meeting, right? So if you have this meeting with your spouse, with yourself or with your spouse or with your partner, like make sure you schedule the next one when you're done. Otherwise, you're just going to forget to do it. So put it on your joint calendar. If you guys don't have a joint calendar, it's a game changer. My fiance and I just got one this past fall. So make sure you do that, right? So utilize that PSLF help tool is the next step. And then if you haven't done anything for PSLF, and let's say you're like 6 years into your career, you can do all of this retroactively. Once again, use the PSLF help tool. You just have to have let's say like I had a client recently who's active duty Air Force and he needed to verify his employment during his residency. So there's a tool within the PSLF help tool, like a form that you fill out that it sends an email to someone who's in a leadership position, and then they sign off on your behalf. PSLF reviews it, and then those payments can count, right? So pro tip about this is to get a digital signature from your employer. If you're doing it retroactively or currently, you'll need the correct email address for what's called an authorizing official. An authorizing official is someone who has access to your employment or service records and is approved by your employer to certify your employment. So if anything like me, I had no idea what an authorizing official was, but it's usually someone in your human resources department, though in some cases it might be your direct supervisor or another person that may be authorized to certify your employment. So I'd say ask around, ask your leaders, ask other physicians that work hand in hand with you. So another pro tip from an I Am Wealth client is how often would you check in on your progress? Your progress really can be checked at any time. I mean, I wouldn't say, just like I tell clients not to check their investment portfolios every single day or probably not even weekly. I wouldn't like hyper obsess on it, right? Because then you'll become extremely fixated and you'll be very hurt if PSLF goes away. So, but until you submit an updated certification of employment, the payments aren't verified to count towards PSLF. So they won't update until you certify your employment. So if you submitted one right now, it'll certify everything up to now. But if you don't do your next one till next fall, it won't show you how far you've come. So maybe you do this, you certify your employment quarterly just so you can make sure all your payments are counting. That's another way to view it, right? Okay, we're getting close to the end here. I know this is a shit ton of information, excuse my French, probably like drinking out of a fire hose. But hopefully you're taking some great notes and learning some things. And like I said, this will be recorded so you can go back through it. Okay, step 4, very, very, very more important now than ever before. I've done this PSLF masterclass probably 5 or 6 times now. This is more important now than ever before. Step 4 is build your contingency plan, right? So if something happens with any of the following, I feel confident in my contingency plan. Political landscape change, your career path changing, the interest rate environment changing, right? So keep this in mind. And then also another step is, I would just encourage everybody to have a financial plan that incorporates your financial vitals, values, and vision that spells out exactly how to pay off your loans based upon your individual goals, whether PSLF happens or not, right? So that free financial wellness diagnostic is a way for you to learn more about that. But I encourage everybody, just like you encourage your patients to have a treatment plan, like having a financial plan and knowing confidently what you need to do in both scenarios will allow you to sleep like a freaking baby more often than not, I would have to imagine. So one of our clients who the pro tip has been coming from today, their contingency plan, they were actively over the course of about 2 years putting money into a brokerage account, which is a non-retirement investment account. And essentially, this isn't exactly their situation. I'm just going to pick a random number. Let's say their goal was to have 200,000 in there in 2 years. So if we take 200,000 divided by 12, that's 16,000 a month. So that might be a lot, right? I think let's use a simpler example because this might be a little overambitious unless you're living like a resident. Let's say you have 100,000 left to go. Oh, sorry, my bad. We're gonna edit that out. I did 12 months instead of 24 months. So that's 8,300 a month. If you're an attending, that's probably fairly realistic to you. So they were putting in 8,300 a month in this example into a brokerage investment account. And essentially, by the time that they got to 120 payments, it's like, okay, this is either going to work or it's not going to work. Very nerve-wracking time for them, right? And it was either, okay, the loans are going to be forgiven and we're going to be able to take that 200,000 and continue to invest it for all of our future goals. Dream house, lake house, kids college, retirement, moving to reduced capacity, whatever it is, right? So that's a major win. That's how you take control of your money and have the fate be in your own control versus the government's control. Or if PSLF doesn't work, PSLF goes away, then yeah, it stings a little bit, but at the end of the day, you're not depending on a source outside of yourself for your success. You have to take responsibility for your own situation and not plan on the government ever saving you. Because most times they probably won't. Not that I'm anti-government or anything, but so anyways, that is what a contingency plan can look like. So take your loan balance, take the interest rate, and then figure out, okay, if I have 4 years to go for PSLF and I have a loan balance of 200,000, how much do I need to start saving now monthly to have a contingency plan in case the Trump administration gets rid of PSLF, right? So those are different ways that you can build a contingency plan. And yeah, you might have to sacrifice kids' college education, retirement planning, whatever, going out to eat as often, right? But you have to kind of weigh out those situations, and having a fiduciary financial team can help you do that. All right, step 5, I made it to 120 payments. Hooray. Yes, wonderful. I hope you get there. I hope PSLF doesn't go away, so this works for you. What the heck happens next? So pro tip directly that we've seen from our clients and other people that have had their loans forgiven is you can expect what we say 90 days in 90 days. So after you submit your last PSLF help form after 120 payments, it's going to take 90 days for student.gov to confirm and process all 120 payments are accounted for. So 3 months, very nerve-wracking time. This is where it's going to be a true test of your patience, but you already survived med school and training, so you probably have a lot more patience than the average human. So I'm sure you can do it. And then it's an additional 90 days. You'll probably get something in the mail or an email that says like, okay, all your payments count. And then it can be an additional 90 days to have your forgiveness processed. So our clients didn't even find out by like getting a letter in the mail or a call or an email. They literally logged into student.gov around the 180-day mark, and they just saw a zero balance, and they weren't even sure if it was true, right? Now, this is a few years outdated, so things may have changed. Processing time probably has slowed down because they have a billion applications because all this forbearance, but I don't know. Another pro tip is you must be working full-time for a qualifying employer at the time you submit the form and when the remaining balance on your loan is forgiven. So you can't get to 120 payments and jump ship. This is from my understanding and my takeaway from student.gov. So I definitely encourage you to just stick it out until your loans are forgiven. So once again, how to do it: verify your progress and submit the final paperwork using the PSLF help tool. confirm that you've made 120 payments. You've waited roughly 90 days. Let's say you haven't heard back. Call studentaid.gov. Be extremely proactive. I probably call them monthly. They might not be very helpful, but call them monthly. Bother them. Call them biweekly. Whatever you want to do, right? And take notes of everything. And then once you receive a confirmation that you are not at 120 payments, like if they say, oh no, you actually 120 payments don't count, confirm that you completed all the paperwork and the entire process. You might have to look into potentially buying back if you went into forbearance, or it might just take you another 5, 6, 2, 5, 8 months, whatever it might be, right? Or reach out to student.gov and say, okay, what do I do next? Or your financial planning team. And then if you receive a yes confirmation that 120 payments counted, awesome news. Patiently wait another 90 nerve-wracking days for your loan forgiveness to be processed. So I've waited an additional 90 days. I've contacted student.gov every 30 days to confirm my progress. I've logged in after 90 days to student.gov to see if my loans have been forgiven. And if your loans have not been forgiven after 90 days, once again, contact student.gov to gain clarification. So hopefully with all of this, I was just talking for a long time, gives you clarity on how to pursue PSLF. We're going to assume it's still going to be a thing until something changes. Don't make assumptions in life. But we also are going to prepare for the worst, being student.gov gives away and taking matters into your own hands. I hope this results in victory for you either way. And either way, at the end of the day, your loans, once again, are that investment into you that's producing an ROI on your income as a physician of probably 100, 200, 300%, maybe a little bit less for some. But once again, you can't take 100,000 into the stock market today and spit out 200,000 12 months from now. That's very, very uncommon. So I know you have to trade your time, of course, but keep that in mind as it relates to your loans. And the last thing I do ask is if any of you does have your loans forgiven because of this process, or you have like a highlight or a major win, please share it with me, because nothing brings me more joy than sharing in others' success. Let me make sure there's nothing that I missed. I know that was a lot. I went a little bit longer than I anticipated, but we're right at an hour. Let me pause right now and just say, is there any key takeaways that anyone wants to share? The last thing, actually, before we get to there, I always encourage everybody, that was a lot of information. So I would write down your top 3 takeaways from today, and then just do one thing in the next 24 hours in alignment with all of them. So maybe it's submitting the PSLF help tool. Maybe it's doing the loan simulator. Maybe it's doing the box and shelf method and figuring out your IDR anniversary date. So just take action on something in the next 24 hours. You can learn all this, but if you don't do anything with it, it's not going to get you anywhere. Okay. Key takeaways and or questions. I probably have about 5-ish minutes. But with all of you too, I'll do a free courtesy call too, just so you can get your questions directly answered. So if there aren't any questions, no worries whatsoever. Erica, I see the check mark. Hopefully that means it was good. I appreciate it. I'm in a room by myself in snowy Traverse City, Michigan. So I'm feeling good. I feel like it went well, but hopefully you guys agree. Any takeaways or questions while we're all here together? If not, I thank you all for being here. I will follow up with all of you. You'll get the email with all the free resources. So check for an email from James at iamwealth.com. Check your spam filter. I feel like healthcare systems have some pretty kick-ass spam filters. And then happy to do a courtesy call with anybody. I'll follow up and call all of you. I never want to be in the business of bothering anybody. So tell me to stop if you want me to stop. And then also too, if you'd like to, go ahead and book that free financial wellness diagnostic. And like I said, the first 2 physicians to book one will get a bonus. Not only will you get the free diagnostic, you'll get a 30-minute coaching call directly tied to your student loans. I can't make a formal recommendation, but I can certainly steer you in the right direction. So here's that for you right here. And if that's it, I hope all of you have a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday, a great month of January. And I would say with all those fun goals and New Year's resolutions that you have, just, outlast everybody and stick to them, and you'll be successful. And you know how to do that as a physician. But grateful for all of you. Appreciate you all. Hope you have an epic day. And I will, we do these about once a month. So I'll see you guys next time. I Am Wealth does not offer individual financial advice outside of a formal consulting agreement.
Content discussed in the I Am Masterclass is not and does not represent financial advice, tax advice, and or legal advice. The intent of the I Am Masterclass is to provide extremely valuable financial educational content for free. For personal questions, we hope that you'll visit iamwealth.com and schedule what we call a free financial wellness diagnostic to assess the current state of your financial health and therefore help you and your family take control of their money so they can live a more meaningful life. So we'll see you there. I Am Wealth does not